guys have already joined us. Thank you so much for joining us on this morning on Asake.
So today on the show, we're going to be looking at the issue of dollarization. Many people have been talking about this, to say let's dollarize, let's adopt the rand, let's adopt the US dollar. What are your takes on this thing, guys, this morning? Should Zimbabwe fully dollarize? Should you adopt the rand? Should you adopt the US dollar? I saw Dick Mangwana posting yesterday speaking about, we don't print the US dollar in Zimbabwe. But asking myself to say, but during the GNU days, did we even print the US dollar? No. Where did this dollar come from? He says it's coming from imports, exports, and so on and so on. But then what's stopping us now from fully adopting the US dollar and the rand? And then we do away with the local currency, even though they say it's the strongest currency in the region. But anyway, should we fully dollarize and adopt the US dollar and the rand?
Yeah, while we are at that, please do request the mic if you want to share your thoughts on this topic today. But before we do that, we are going to get straight into the news. So yesterday, we ran a story headline: 2 pedestrians killed in hit-and-run accidents. The Zimbabwe Republic Police has launched investigations following the death of 2 people in separate hit-and-run incidents. A woman in her 30s was fatally struck by an unknown motorist on Sunday at the 64-kilometer peak along Bulawayo-Bedbridge Road. The victim died on the spot and the motorist did not stop after the accident, the police said in a statement. In another incident, a man was fatally struck on the same day along Harare-Bulawayo Road near Bradford School turnoff. The police have appealed to anyone who might have information to report at any nearest police station. Quite sad what happened there.
Right, Zimbabweans in South Africa panic as joined the land near. Zimbabweans in South Africa are in state of panic as they await a ruling from the courts on whether they can remain in that country despite the non-extension of Zimbabwean exemption payments. The High Court division in Gauteng, South Africa, was supposed to have ruled on the challenge filed last year by the Helen Suzman Foundation, HSF, a human rights organization seeking to overturn a government decision not to prolong the ZEPs in 2021. So interesting there, the issue of the Zimbabwean exemption payments happening there in South Africa.
Mm-hmm. And we also ran a story headline: MRP to field candidates in Midlands and Matabeleland. The Mtwakazi Republic Party, MRP, is only fielding candidates in Matabeleland and the Midlands in the 2023 elections, claiming that their priority is to restructure Zimbabwe's southwestern region through self-determination and local empowerment. Party leader Mqondisi Moyo told Site that the political landscape of Matabeleland and Midlands needed special attention so that inhabitants who have been neglected for years could access greater opportunities and be on par with other regions in the country.
Right, Plum residents of venture into livestock fail. I love this one. Interesting. A group of Plum residents have come together to form a consortium which will see them venturing into various projects to empower themselves and develop their area. Initially, the group was a 20-member team before others dropped out, leaving out 8 members. They managed to raise over 100,000 rand and bought 108 goats, mostly 2 breeds, the Red Kalahari and the Cross Boer from Gwanda. The consortium held an event on Sunday where the beneficiaries from the UK, London, South Africa, and Bulawayo were receiving their goats. It's quite interesting there. Kudos to Andrew Plum, kudos to Makalanga for coming up with this stockfill. It's quite innovative and interesting.
Yeah. We also ran a story headline: IDA Orbit 2023 End Discrimination and Violence Towards LGBTQI Persons in Zimbabwe. On the occasion of celebrating this year's International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia and Transphobia, rights advocacy organizations in Zimbabwe have called for an end to discrimination and violence against sexual minorities. IDA Orbit has been celebrated yearly on 17 May since 1990, the day when the health organization who declassified homosexuality as a mental disability and declassified it as a disease. This year's commemorations are being held under the theme Together Always, United in Diversity. The theme speaks to the importance of inclusivity and support for queer persons.
Right, interesting article there coming from site. If you want to read more of our stories, you can go to site.org.za to read more of those stories. Remember, guys, it's time to be social with Asake Online. Offer the following services: live streaming, social media adverts, program sponsorship, mobile road shows, video filming, photography, documentaries, as well as corporate events management. Do call us now on 263-788-084-339 or drop us an email, ashley@site.org.zw, or do come to offices at number 45 Moffat Avenue in Hillside, right here, Gobulawa. Also, yeah, guys, it's time to be social with Asake Online. Do drop us a DM and help us as we help you with these services.
Yeah, and also don't forget to follow us at SiteZW on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages for our programs. We do have live programs, the breakfast show, screenshot the podcast. We also have a Twitter space tonight at 6 p.m. Please do tune into that one as well.
Remember, on this day, on the 23rd of May 2019, Zimbabweans lost Dr. Dumiso Dabengwa, liberation icon, former ZAPU president, intelligence supremo. We lost Dumiso Dabengwa on this day in 2019. Quite interesting day. So I'll be going today to the gravesite and with other youths there to commemorate that day today.
Yeah, quite interesting, really. And I hope you're going to have a lovely day remembering such an icon who contributed so much to the liberation of the country and building Zimbabwe really even after independence. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for those who have just joined us. Welcome to This Morning on Asake. Today we're talking about our currency. Should Zimbabwe fully adopt the US dollar to stabilize the economy? So much has been going on. We've tried this during the GNU, and most people say that there was stability and everything. We could actually get by, but now times seem to have gone hard. Of course, we went back to the RTGS. Things seem to be okay for a while, and now we have taken a knock back, and some are saying we would rather go back to the US dollar. And I think it's Dr. Mangucha was saying it's quite difficult for us. We don't print the forex. We have to rely on exports and imports and all that. So would like to hear from you guys what you have to say. What's your take? Do you think that we should adopt the US dollar to stabilize the economy?
Before we take any speaker this morning, remember the voter roll inspection centers are now out. You can go out there and inspect the voter roll, check your name, check your details there. Also, guys, do remember you can dial *265 to check your details on the voter roll. The centers will be open between 7 o'clock up to 5 p.m. daily from the 27th of May to the 31st of May. Documents to carry now carry national ID card, metal card, or a plastic, or the waiting pass with the holder's picture, or a valid passport in Zimbabwe to check your name on the voter roll. Uqhuquzela abanye abacela ukuthi kwakho ukuthi uhambe ngaphi lekhangela amabizo enu ku voter roll. Now ungakwanisi dial *265# and call and check your details on the voter roll. Did you check your details?
Yeah, now I'm all set. Before my name wasn't moved from Kulimane, but now I know my name has been moved to Mbopoma, so I'm ready. I'm just waiting for the president to announce the election dates, and then it's all systems go.
Well, let's do that this morning. Jabulo, I see you as speaker now. Good morning, Jabulo. Welcome to This Morning on Asake. What's your take on the issue of dollarization? Should we fully dollarize in Zimbabwe, and should so dollar stabilize our economy? Jabulo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, Brighton and Nonchansha. Thank you so much. It's quite a very cold morning this side. So I was listening to when you're reading the news. Before I comment on the issue that you have raised here, the issue that has to do with I've realized that sometimes when I read even here on Twitter, you find there in Zimbabwe there are just a lot of hit and runs. It's quite sad that we have a government that have failed to put proper infrastructure in place to avoid such things. Here when I'm driving in South Africa, if I'm driving above the speed limit here, even on the freeway, there is no police or anyone who will come and give me a ticket. There are cameras monitoring the roads 24 hours. If I do above 120 on the freeway, I'll just see it clear. Then before I know it, the tickets will be coming through to our offices here. because I usually drive the company car. I will see the tickets coming through to our offices. And sometimes when you're driving your private car, once you do a red robot or you commit an offense, the cameras are always monitoring to take you photos, and they will just see a ticket, or if you have committed an offense, you'll see police officers coming through to your house where you have registered that car, or going to where that car is registered. Why are we having a lot of hit and runs there in Zimbabwe on highways? Because when you are saying Bulawayo Baitbridge Road, it's supposed to be a fully functional highway that is monitored 24 hours, like what is happening in other countries, so that there is you know, like here, if I'm on the freeway and something happens to me, I don't need to phone the police or anyone. You'll find the police will come there because they are constantly watching and monitoring what is happening on the freeway. So I feel Zimbabwe needs to graduate and get to that stage where they make the roads safer even for the pedestrians and even the motorists, because we cannot be having there was a hit and run and you are trying to look for witnesses. People are minding their own business. They shouldn't be going around and checking no, who's committing a crime. There should be a system to monitor crime and monitor freeways. Anyway, thank you. Let me get to the topic. The issue that is to do with the US dollar, we need to go back to remember we're using the US dollar from the government of national unity, and it was working very well for us, and economically speaking it was working okay, and the people could budget and people could plan around it. And one of the things that had happened during the era of the US dollar was it gave a lot of Zimbabweans buying power in literally sense, because for you, if you are carrying $1 in Zimbabwe, by then or before we started using the RTGS, you will find that the rand was at 12 or it was at 15 again. So it gave us a lot of buying power, and we became the most people that had the most buying power in the whole of SADC. So you'll find that a lot of people, when we're using the US dollar, we could afford a lot of things, and it stabilized the prices automatically for us, because the shop owners and the people that were running businesses knew that Zimbabweans, when you had $1 in your hand, you had a lot of access in the whole of SADC. You could just move across to Botswana, go and get your cooking oil. You move across to South Africa, go and get your loaves of bread and bring them. You can move to Botswana, South Africa, go and get your fuel. So it gave Zimbabweans a lot of buying power, of which by the introduction of the bond note, that buying power was taken away from Zimbabweans. And to me, I still feel it was thuggery what the government did to Zimbabweans, because remember, when they brought it into full force, they said, especially when Tuli Ngube came in, he said it's going to be keje, it's going to be 1:1 with the US dollar. But right now, there were people, I remember by then, because I always tell people of this story, that by 2017, I was there in Zimbabwe. I had my money in my account in US dollars. Then I woke up in 2018, guess what? I can't access my money in US dollars. And I'm told, I know it's still keje, but you need to now have a Nostro account so that you are able to access the US dollar. But when I was banking my money, I banked it in US dollars. So I felt that was a form of thuggery, and people were stealing, and I feel the bond note was used to steal from Zimbabweans, to steal their US dollars at the end of the day. This is why we have this deficiency, we have this disconnect, this inflation that is happening currently, because people stole the US dollar. The US dollar used to circulate easy. You go to the bank, they give you $10. You go away. What happened to all that US dollar that was circulating, that now we are having a crisis of the US dollar? This is why there's inflation. So I feel that the economy needs to go back until it stabilizes. It has to go back to fully fledged US dollar until it stabilizes. And we if we feel the US dollar is too far-fetched for us to have it circulating full time, why can't we join the rand monetary system, and we bring the rand into Zimbabwe and allow it to circulate? Namibia is using the rand and it's doing well for them. Why can't we just join and we also use the rand? Because most of our people, if Zimbabwe say no, we have a lot of Zimbabweans that are in South Africa, wouldn't it be advantageous for us to use the rand? Because it will be easy for Zimbabwe to access the rand even through its citizens that are already living in South Africa. Them sending that money back home, you just make it a national currency and it circulates, and it will be easy for even Zimbabwe to go just across and sign deals. Remember, we offered that deal, I think in 2008, and because we couldn't comply with South African regulations, that's why the South African government didn't allow us to officiate using the rand during Gabe's era. So he was given a lot of lists so that the rand it doesn't lose its value if we are using it. And they couldn't comply, so we couldn't use the rand. But I think let's go back to the US dollar. If we can afford to continuously use it and we can have it circulating, because the thing that is hitting the most is that we try to use the US dollar, but we don't have sufficient US dollar in circulation. This is why there is now the black market running parallel, because we don't have sufficient US dollar in Zimbabwe, and this is what is causing the inflation at the end of the day. Thank you so much, Brighton and Nonhlanhla, for giving me the chance to share my thoughts on the subject.
Thank you so much, Njabulo, for that contribution this morning. Quite interesting background also that you gave there to say what happened before and the things that we went through really, and now we are here again in this crisis. Let's give Bento a chance. Good morning, Bernard. What's your contribution this morning?
Good morning, Nonhlanhla. Good morning, Brighton. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to speak to the topic. Should Zimbabwe fully adopt the US dollar to stabilize the economy? I will conclusively say no, because it's not good strategically and fundamentally. You know, the US dollar has got a lot of problems, and it's the problem. It is the one which is at the center of the carnage. One, it is hard to get for the majority of the people. Two, it makes our exports very less competitive. And our own people devalue it because still things are expensive in the US dollar. And for a country to manage its economy, it needs two tools: the monetary economics tool and the fiscal economics tool. So if we rob Mutuli and the Arabs, this other tool to fine-tune the economy, they will stand on one leg, you see. And the other important thing is what we can do is to liberalize our consumer market. Well, all these things are being driven by the consumer market, which is monopolistic. Too many monopolies, oligopolies, you know, they need to be broken. There has to be competition there. That's why they can play Russian roulette with our lives. Mozambique and Zambia were in this situation, but they never did that. You know, they kept on, struggling with the rand. I mean, with the kwachas and the midcash, but they came out of it. Look, economic historians know very well that the Zimbabwean economy has been distorted structurally for a long time, very, very long time. for more than 43 years because of the need for foreign currency. When we adopted ESAP, at that time, for every dollar we invested in our economy, 70 cents was imported. You see, the foreign currency literally is the US dollar. But now, the US dollar is now being used as a store of value and as a creation of wealth. It's now a commodity. So this has added pressures on the consumer market inflation. So what I will say is we need to liberalize the consumer market so that more players come in. The other thing is people talk a lot about the GNU, but during the GNU, especially 2004, 5,600 companies closed and 55 jobs were lost. And during that time, yes, inflation tumbled and things were cheaper for the people, but there was no development. Can you tell me anything which was developed during that time? But now we're beginning to export and developing our country. We've got dams coming up and projects which were not completed, were now completed because we're able to export. What the government should do now is not to treat these business people who are causing the carnage with kids' gloves. They've been protected. The government protected them so that they don't face competition from outside businesses. But what do? They bite the same thing hand which feeds them. That consumption market needs to be liberalized. And it's a good way. It needs more players, more of our people who are employed can play a key role in supplying consumer goods. Because consumer goods are a key driver of inflation in any country. But our countries, because there's no competition, there has to be competition, and we can't run without our own currency. Seriously, any country which has tried to use the US dollar has had problems coming out of it, especially the countries in South America. You read their economic histories, you know that they had problems. It is addictive. I know our people are also besotted with the US dollar. Everyone loves it, even our leaders. We must be proud of our own currency. The other problem why the dollar is depreciating so fast, anyway, the dollar started depreciating in 1980, it never appreciated, is because people don't really like it. The government must put incentives for people to like their currency. Incentives and a bit of punishment. That's how you run a country. Incentives, moral persuasion, and a bit of penalties. We can't not use our own currency because of some people who are manipulating things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bernard.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bernard, for your contribution this morning. Quite interesting views coming from Bernard. Bernard is saying, no, we should stick to our currency. And in ending, you were speaking about us just not liking our currency and, calling for maybe strict measures to help us like our currency.
Right, guys, if you just joining us this morning, talking about the issue of dollarization and also the issue of the rand. Should Zimbabwe fully dollarize and adopt the rand and the US dollar for to stabilize our economy? But also, let's go back to 2018. During the GNU, there was the issue of the US dollar was adopted. Basic commodities prices were pegged now in US dollar and rand. There was semblance of hope and there was semblance of change. People were earning US dollars. But as I was listening to Bernard, they're speaking about the issue of how people should love and be proud of their own currency. But I'm saying to you, Bernard, what if the currency is not working? Look at now, if you go to a supermarket, they're asked to say how much is this in US dollar, how much is this in bond, how much is this in cash, how much is this in swipe. Is that even normal for a country to have multiple maybe pricing in terms of basic commodities? So why can't you adopt one currency? If you're going to stick with the RTGS, will that stabilize our economy? Let's take our freelancer. The freelancer, good morning. Say welcome to this morning, Nasaki.
Hey, welcome, Brighton. Welcome, Non-Salsa. First and foremost, I want to encourage you, Bafana Bam, with the Sokumele Liense Amajingles, with the advertiser a program. Your program is one of the fastest growing programs here on space. So I think it's high time with every 3-4 speakers in Amajingles for other programs. We are in future. Thank you. Right. let's go to the topic. What a fantastic topic. I did write about this topic 2-3 days ago on Space. I live in the UK. I have got an account in South Africa. I have an account with FNB in South Africa. I've got an account in Zimbabwe for foreign account. I cannot allow my account in Zimbabwe to go over $1,000 US because I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. So I just keep it ingadluli more than 1,000. Imali yami rent Bulawayo ingena khona, but then after some time I just take it out because I don't want my money to go there. First and foremost, why is it abantu beZimbabwe they don't bank money in Zimbabwe? The reason is teachers, doctors, nurses, they get paid in RTGS. Will they change from RTGS to go and look for US dollars to go and put money in the bank? No. Right. That is one thing. Secondly, when I send 1,000, today I sent 1,000 pounds, go account in South Africa, I got 23,676.96. When I sent 1,000 pounds to Zimbabwe US dollars, I get 1,217. So I benefit more when I send money in South Africa. So I would rather not send money. I would rather ask my family to go to South Africa, ibathumele imali, bayithatha bathenge izinto laphana. So if I was the government of Zimbabwe, I would do what you call amnesty. Everyone, we give them a period by the end of June. Everyone must bank the money or get rid of US dollars. We are starting our own strong currency in the country. One currency. If you go to a supermarket right now, you will see a tenner is $10. You buy things for $7, then you are waiting for your change. They tell you, sorry, I don't have change. You want sweets. That is corruption at its own cost. That is wrong. I bought my things for $7. I want my change. But they are taking advantage. That US dollar in Zimbabwe is causing problems for us. The government is saying to Abantube government, you can go and buy a vehicle outside the country. But they want them to pay, to pay is motor duty US dollars. Where do they get the US dollars from? Money is shorter in Zimbabwe. Bayafonelana US dollars. That is corruption at its own cost because of this US dollar. So if I was the government of Zimbabwe, I will adopt our own currency. Get rid of this US dollar and start afresh. Anyone found around working with more than 2,000-3,000 in the country, US dollars, money laundering. I think we need to go back to our own strong currency. Use our own currency. If you want to get US dollars, go to the Peru change and get money. Those coming from outside the country, they must go and change imali. But in South Africa, you don't use a US dollar. The US dollar, they don't even look at it, and they are doing very well. Let's adopt to our own strong currency. That's what I think. Brighton and non-Zalda. Thank you for now.
Thank you so much for that contribution this morning. You're always raising these important conversations and also how we can spice up this program. But unfortunately, our boss today are joining. But every time I join, Philip Gakulum, but I join Philip Gakulum some interesting innovative.
Your bosses are my boys. They know that. Ask them that. Philip, they will tell you that one is our big boss. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Philip, for raising that. I see Judge George, another speaker there. Tops, good morning. Welcome to this morning. Let's do go right to the contribution.
Yeah, morning everybody. Before I proceed, I will just say what I say is what is coming from my mind. I think the biggest problem we have, it's not only our market or the way how we do business. It's we need all those economic and political reform before any current can work. Be it South African rand or USD. At the moment, we have a moment of trust issue to say we don't even trust our own government. waste through our banks. So that some people who are executive in the banks or even in the country to say our president, we don't trust what he says about the economy. They talk about having excess, especially in terms of wheat, grain, but at the same time we end up importing. At the same time, those same people, they don't want to pay the farmers anything with the value, be it produce or cotton or even whatever is coming from agriculture sector is not being sold accordingly. But at the same time, they wanted to just dump the way of using two currency system. I think it's confusing a lot because all the inputs are being sold in USD and even the fuel. So in terms of transport, it's always in USD because the executive are the ones who owns the garages and the supply of fuel. That is where we have the problem to say we cherry pick what we should do, what we should use USD and what we should use the other currency. I don't think the bond note is really a current because we are struggling to understand what it is. Even our neighbors struggle to understand what it is. That is why we can't use it in their own country, but we can use their own currency. We can use the Mozambique Matikashi, Zambian Kwacha, Botswana Pula and Rand. But they can't use, they don't want you to see our own body, not in their own borders, once we go there. So we have the banking crisis which we need to address. We have the economic crisis. We have the leadership crisis is there. We have to be honest with it. To say nobody trusts, the issue of trust needed to be redone and all those reforms which have been recommended even at international level. We now have a problem to say where we are going. We are now going on uncharted territory, so then we are restructuring our debit. We don't know whether it's another ISAP or what it's ever, because there's that condition again on where the government is negotiating to say we have to pay 3.5 billion to former white farmers. Then we restructure part of the debit. Then instead of us being afraid of it, we say it's even better because they will have control over our reserve bank rather than the current people who have the control over reserve bank. So that is where we find the problem to say even though, but we say it is better because at the moment we have to address the issue of trust. That's my contribution. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you so much, Dobbs, for your contribution. Quite interesting angle that you're bringing there to say it's not just about our currency. We also have to address our banking system, address our leadership issues as well. So quite interesting views there. And I think we can now move on.
Yeah, before we go to the next speaker this morning, I was just going through some of the timeline here this morning, and I was looking at what Nick Mangwana was saying there on the issue of the US dollar. Should the guys the dollar rise and fully adopt the US dollar? Nick Mangwana was saying that we only get our foreign currency through our exports, what we sell out of the country. We don't print the US dollar in Zimbabwe, so we can't adopt the US dollar because don't print it in Zimbabwe. And he was making a reference to other countries that have banned the use of the US dollar to focus more on their local currency. So this morning we're asking you guys, should Zimbabwe fully adopt the US dollar to stabilize the economy? But again, I was speaking about the GNU. I tried to respond to the Mangwana and say, but however, during the GNU, did we print the US dollar? No. How did you get the US dollar? People are getting paid in US dollar. How did you get that money? Yes, you want to revive our own currency. But at the present moment, look at where we are as a country. Go to supermarket in Zimbabwe. You ask, is it in US dollar, rand, eco cash, swipe? You ask all those currencies. Is it normal? If you're paying school fees, now I say the half, you pay in US dollar or Naira TJs half in terms of school fees. Is this even normal? Go to our house where we rent. No landlord wants to pay to take the other TGS. They all want the US dollar or the rand. What is the proper thing to be done right now to fully stabilize our economy? We spoke earlier about the issue of gold coins. Some are saying gold coins are going to stabilize the economy. But will this stabilize in short term the economy and bring back the livelihood that we lived during the GNU?
Yeah, there's a whole lot of things, Brighton. But let's hear from freedom of expression. Good morning, Zimbabwe Freedom of Expression. What's your contribution this morning?
Good morning. Thank you very much for the space. Really appreciate the hosts and the platform. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to all the listeners. If I can just remind everyone that one of the things that we are not all taking into consideration, it is what has been said before, what has happened before, and the simple, very, very simple fundamentals of supply and demand that are taught in Zimbabwe from O level, that some people at grade 7 understand very well, very, very well. If you take currency and then you print excess notes, it is obviously going to be devalued. Obvious. And we all know what was causing the devaluation, or rather, what is causing the devaluation of the Zimbabwean dollar. We all know it has been the same thing since time immemorial in the 80s, 90s, and until today. It's the same thing. If we get rid of that, then there's no need for us to blame any businesses, because businesses are there all over the world. There's no way you can say you're going to blame Strive Masiwa for causing inflation in Zimbabwe when you don't see him being blamed in Botswana. You don't see him being blamed in Nigeria. You don't see him being blamed in Zambia. You don't see him being blamed in South Africa. You don't see him being blamed all over the world, including in UK, in Switzerland, in other countries where he's got interests. They don't see him being blamed anywhere, but only in Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, you have a whole national newspaper going in and saying it's the fault of business. It's the fault of business. That the whole economy is completely, totally trashed. And then they completely ignore the simple fundamentals of supply and demand, looking at what happened in the past, looking at what has been happening through time immemorial, and then trying to understand and stop nonsense that has been happening. You know what? In my own humble opinion, allowing the Zimbabwe dollar to operate without interference from the president and the finance minister, it being within the remit of RBZ independently, totally independently, and removing statutory instruments that allow the finance minister and president to meddle in Zimbabwe's financial affairs in terms of monetary policy. That would be number one. That would be number one. Number two would be allowing members of parliament the right to bring in anybody at any time to answer questions, instead of having sacred cows that allow situations like this.